This is your host and real estate coach, Rafael Cortez. You are listening to the REI Wholesaling Podcast, where every week I bring you the real life case studies and strategies you need to level up your real estate wholesaling business. If you haven't done so yet, go to reiwholesaling.com. Again, that's reiwholesaling.com. Sign up and get free access to your Wholesaling 101 course. This free training teaches you step by step everything you need to close your next wholesale deal and start making big money now. Today, I'm very excited, just like every other time, because we have Mr. Max Jimenez with us, and he is the perfect example of what can happen in a very short period of time when you commit to your results, when you start taking ownership of your journey, and then you dive head on into wholesaling. Thank you so much for being with us, Max. I appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me on. Honestly, it's always an honor to get on a podcast with Rafael Cortez, the man, the myth, the legend. I love it. I love it. I'm excited, bro. I know you're doing great things, and I'm just excited to be a part of that and be here with you. So I appreciate you, man.
Thanks, man. Thanks. We go way back. We actually met back in 2015. I've been able to see everything that's happened since then, man. Your journey has been crazy. It's been insane. And it all stems out from wholesaling. So I think you're one of the best examples of what can happen, and the type of life that we can tap into, the type of life that we can live.
Right.
We commit to it. So man, from your words, just tell us your background and how'd you get started in real estate and how it all started.
Yeah. So really quick, obviously, I started back, like you said, we met in 2015. That was right around when I found out about wholesaling. I was actually working construction at that time. And so I was into my 4 year, going to my 5th year of working construction. But before that, I've always loved sales. I've always loved entrepreneurship. I've had people in my life that, that made impact on me, right? Some people were entrepreneurs, some were their own business. But I never knew exactly what I wanted to do. But it came to the time where, again, my thing was, I always wanted to do my own thing. I was great at my job, and I did it with pride. Obviously us Hispanics, we take everything, we do it with pride, right? We're very prideful people.
Absolutely.
And so, but it wasn't something that I wanted to do forever. So around 2014, I reached out to a friend of mine that did real estate back in 05 and 06. He wasn't active. So, I reached out to him. His name was Randy. He passed away a couple years ago. And so I reached out to him and I said, hey, Randy, what do you think about us looking into, getting some real estate? So like everybody, and I'm pretty sure your audience as well, the first thing was we needed, we're gonna buy real estate. To buy it, you got to get the money. We got to buy it and then fix it up and then sell it, right?
We're thinking. Usually it's thinking hammers and nails, and there's so much behind that.
Yeah. We fall into the trap. I was guilty of that. Man, where am I going to get the money from? How am I going to find these properties? And so that's what started the journey right there. But here's the thing that helped me is that when I put my mind on something, like if I know if it's for me, and I'm going to figure it out until I get it figured out. Does that make sense?
Yep. You stick to it. So,
Yeah.
Well, stickability, right? At the end of the day, it's being committed, and it's, staying on with the results.
Right.
Even when the stuff is kind of hazy and it's not clear and your path is not laid out, but you have that feeling, that sensation that, okay, this is the right thing for me to do right now. And you follow that path, things are going to light up. You're going to run into the right people. You're going to run into the right podcast. You're going to listen the right sentence in somebody's mouth, and it's going to resonate with you. And I mean, a simple comment, man, can carry you for a couple of years. It's amazing how that happens.
That's definitely true, man. I didn't know, right? I didn't have all the answers. I didn't have the direction, but I knew, again, stickability. I wanted to stick with this because I knew what it could do, because I've seen it. I saw what my friend was doing back then. So I'm like, man, I got to go. So I started putting in the work. I was working my construction job, waking up at summertime. I would wake up at, 4 a.m., 3:30 sometimes. And then I come out, the good thing about that job is by that, you're out by 1 o'clock, 1:30. So I had a majority of the day, even though I was still getting up at that early, I spent that rest of the day figuring out how I'm going to do this. So here's some of the things that I did, which probably don't work today, maybe, because, obviously things shift, things are always changing. I started going on Craigslist and I started looking at properties. That was my first step, right? I started going on Craigslist and back then I didn't know who these people were. Now I know that it was actually people who were wholesaling, right? They, properties, they were putting them up for such a low price. And I would pick up the phone and I called them. That's what I would do. I would pick up the phone and call them. Hey, I saw that you have a property for sale. Can you tell me a little bit more about, how do we go about purchasing them? Yeah, cash, close in 10 days. And then I'm thinking like, whoa, wait. I'm not
what is going on here?
I'm not prepared for that. So I go back to my friend and be like, Randy, I don't know what's, I'm going on Craigslist, I'm making phone calls, but these guys are telling me that we got to have the money like right now. And so I'm like, man, we're not prepared for that. So again, going back to that mindset where we all start, where we thinking we have to have the money, we have to have, the connections and all that. And I'm like, man, what should I do? Cause I kept at it and was just running into that roadblock. It became a roadblock for me, but I'm like, man, there's gotta be something here that I'm not understanding how these guys are doing this and, how they're finding these properties. This is my attitude, bro. Like I'm being honest here, like transparent, right? Because we all go through this. Go through this. You can't lie to yourself. Like, and this is what I want your listeners to hear too, is that every time you're running into roadblocks, it's part of the process. You might have a comment on that, Rafael.
It builds backbone, man. I had one of my old captains at the fire department. Every time we had a crappy call or something that, for example, we used to get like these calls of brush fires, right? And brush fires take a long time to put out. And you hated those as a fireman because you would have to sit on them for a couple of days and then just pour water and then sit on them, pour water. And it was like the crappiest thing. And one thing that he would always say was like, it builds character. It builds character. It's the exact same thing, man. I think about that. And this was years ago. And I still think about that. Every time I come, across something that it's an obstacle or something, like, all right, it's built character and I'm going to use it somehow, some way.
Yeah.
You're completely
for
right.
Sure.
So this is 2000, around 2014, 15?
This is around 15 already. Yeah.
Cool. 2015. So what was it, what did your business or what did your wholesale efforts look like back then, and what do they look like now? And I know the journey has been insane for you.
I didn't do a lot of door knocking, but most was mailers and bandit signs. So that's kind of the marketing that I was doing back then, because back then that marketing still worked at a high level, right? You can send 100, 200 letters, and you were getting phone calls from that 100 to 200 letters. You can put out 100 bandit signs on a weekend, and you were still getting calls from those bandit signs. Obviously, that's changed a little bit now. Now it's the contact ratio for a letter is a lot lower than what it was back in 2015, because you got a lot more people in the industry. But again, I locked up 2 deals, reached out to you on a couple of them to get some ideas on comps. Dude, I didn't know what I was doing. I was still talking to sellers. I loved it because now I wasn't reaching out to those guys on Craigslist. I was dealing directly with the homeowners, and that's a different game when you're dealing directly with the homeowners. And like I said, I got calls in, and so I was still working. I was still working on my job. I was still, basically sending out mailers, going out to appointments, going out looking at properties, and it took me. And so from I want to say around. From when I started going all into wholesaling from, I want to say June 2015, and it actually took me 11 months to get my first deal, and it was for $11,200. I still remember it, bro. My first deal. So
first deal, $11K.
I was excited. I was like, man, this stuff works.
It's 11, man. It's got to be a sign. 11 months to get your $11,000 deal.
Exactly.
Yeah. No. And what happens is that, again, it's once you get that first check in, it becomes real, right? And then your efforts pay off, and just something snaps inside your head and you get rewired, and then you start thinking like, holy cow, I can do this over and over again. And you start hitting the next deal, the next deal, the next deal. And you start, getting deals in the pipeline and closing 2-3 deals a month. And it's a life changer.
Totally.
So you were solo, you were doing everything by yourself during this time?
Yeah, I was solo. My family helped me out. I had my daughter. I mean, they bought into it. My wife, my son. They were helping me out, fill out the envelopes and put the stamps put the letters in the envelopes, put the stamps on the envelopes. And
Yep.
while I was at work, I had the whole crew working.
Nice. So, what does it look like right now? I mean, I know your operation has grown exponentially. You and your partner, Steve, have a movement right now.
We do,
yeah. And so you're doing that, which is Real Estate Disruptors, really cool, and it's helping a ton of people. And you have your wholesale company, which is Max Cash Offers. What does that look like right now for you?
Yeah, so Max Cash Offers right now is starting to take off to where we had originally envisioned it, right? Steve and I partnered up in 2018, April 2018. And then we started Max Cash Offers, and then a couple months later we started Real Estate Disruptors. But right now I've come a long way from the letters and banner signs, right? So right now our marketing has shifted to the more higher end marketing, right? We're doing TV commercials. We're going to get back into mailers, something that we've been talking about for a while. We're still doing cold calling because cold calling always works.
Right.
Where some of the other, some of the other telemarketing like text message and RVM, that still works in some markets, and some systems are having challenge with that. But I still wouldn't shy away from it. Like, we're still doing RVMs, but our bread and butter right now, from what we've seen, is TV. And then we're gonna go full on into mailers as well, starting in January. So right now we're currently in one market with TV in New Mexico and Albuquerque, and then the first week of January of 2021 we're gonna be here in Phoenix. We just shot that commercial yesterday.
Nice.
For Phoenix. Yeah.
I mean, I think everything works if you do it enough, but the level of results is going to be different. So, for example, I've talked about bandit signs, I've talked about direct mail, I've talked about all that stuff, and it depends on what area you are. For example, direct mail. Yeah. Direct mail, we niche it out. We do direct mail, but we niche it out, and we have a small list that we hit through direct mail. But we're also hitting that same group of people through cold calling and different avenues, right? SMS and that.
Right. Yeah. No, it's so, and that's the thing. You're right. Like, every market's different. We're trying to catch the bigger fish. We're going after, other things of marketing, other marketing sources, which is TV, and direct mail. Direct mail can get very expensive very quick, and you will lose a lot of money. So like you're saying, I agree. You need to be niche with that. And we're pulling leads directly from the county as well. So we don't buy all our niche lists. We pull them directly from the county. We have one VA that works 8 hours a day or 40 hours a week, and her sole job is to go on the county recorder's office. And guys, you guys that are listening, every county is different. Our county recorders, we're blessed because everything is on there. We can pull all the records. I mean, you wouldn't agree? Would you agree, Rafael? Absolutely.
I mean, Maricopa does and you're in my same market, Maricopa County in Arizona, so it's Phoenix. But it's they do a really good job about keeping stuff lined up and having decent real estate records in county records. So it's great. And I've seen other counties where you can't find anything at all.
Where you can't find anything. Yeah. I mean, like we're having a challenge right now, right? Like Albuquerque's a non-disclosure state. So, the good thing what we did is before we went live there, we actually hired a disposition manager, but we make sure, obviously we put them through all the processes of hiring, our hiring processes. And then one of the requirements was for them to be licensed in order for us to have access to the local MLS there. So it's been working out great with him on board with us. Yeah. So
cool. So right now, I mean, you're tapping into different marketing strategies, but we're finding sellers. Where are the majority of your sellers coming from?
Well, as of this month, TV, right? But before TV, cold calling. Cold calling had been and has still been delivering. For some reason, December, obviously, like we know, it tends to slow down just a little bit. But our VAs are still pounding the phones. But for the most part, cold calling for sure. Yep. When we started, man, we were kind of all over the place. Even if you're on your own and you want to create this into a business, you need to look at where you're going, where you're struggling, and how to fix it. Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah. I mean, that in itself, it's a huge golden nugget, because if you don't have the awareness to slow down a little bit and see whether or not your actions are giving you results, you're going to be, flying blind. You can scale,
For sure.
Processes and systems, or you can scale chaos, right? One of the two.
Yeah.
What stands true is that you can't start this by yourself. What are your highest revenue generating activities?
So for me for me personally, the highest generating activity, obviously I love going to appointments. So, closing. I don't do those all closing. So I don't do it. I'm not doing it as much because, I got Ruben, who's my right-hand guy, right? He's stepping into that role a little bit, but for me, that's one of them, because I love closing. I love, going to the appointment, but now it's more of, I'm stepping into more of a visionary role, like filling in the right team members, finding the right team members. That's one of them. Now I don't do I don't do all the hiring process. I just interview. That's it. I'm interviewing. That for me is a high income generating activity, because at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we have the right team members. The second thing for me is sales training. Training our team members. Yeah. So, because we got to make sure that they follow the sales process. I'm not involved in the day-to-day setting everything up, but it's just more of, hey, let's have a quick session with our, and we do this, on, twice or three times a week. The other thing too is that our VAs. So for me, it's very important that our VAs, because we have 3 VAs in the Philippines that run all of our operations. You know who they are. Obviously they're in our system. So that's another thing for me. But always those 4. But right now, so like you caught me in a transition, right? So that's the 4 that I can think of, because that's where I was at. But right now, the transition is I'm going to get out of those 4 roles completely. And for me, it's going to be more go full 100% into the visionary role, create the bigger deals, create more private money, or build more private money relationships, and build the bigger relationships. Those are going to be my 3 high income generating activities for 2021. Yep.
Beautiful.
We all started here, guys. Again, going back to what Rafael was saying, is that we don't just, I didn't just fall here. I don't know about you, Rafael, but I just didn't fall. I always laugh when people say, how did you get so lucky? How did you get it's a learning process.
Preparation and opportunity. That's what happens.
Boom. There you go.
If you stay ready, you don't have to get ready.
That's true. That's true, man. I love that. I love that saying.
And I do the same thing. Every now and then I'll jump into a negotiation and then, put deals on the board. Why? Because I don't want to lose that edge. Everything, right. It's a skill, right? If you use it or lose it. So we can play in that range. It doesn't mean that because you have a business now, you can't close. Like, why not go in there and play, look at it from that, perspective. It's fun. That's what this is. It's a fun way of creating the life that you want to create. I know you guys have done massive deals, and I know recently you guys did a couple that were back to back. And we were talking about him, and I thought it was the same stuff. And it's like, no, it's back-to-back stuff. But you guys closed, you guys did two $50,000 deals back-to-back, 1 month after the other. Let's break some of that stuff down. Where and what type of property were those?
All right. So the first one was actually a manufactured home. The first one, it was manufactured home, a fix. So that's the key. It was a fix, which means it was attached to the land.
Attached
so a good tip to
land.
Yeah. So just a good tip, and here's a golden nugget for your listeners, is that when you're looking at, don't shy away from manufactured homes. The key there is that you look at this one thing, which is when on tax record, if it doesn't say a fix, a mobile home mobile fix, then what that means is it's okay. You can still do a deal even if it's not a fix, but now you're going to negotiate a little bit of a deeper discount, because now your end buyer is going to have to fix it to the land, because it goes from, when it's a fix, it goes from real property to where, when it's not a fix, to just personal property. So basically you're only taking title to the land. But this one, in this case, in our example, it was in a fixed manufactured home of North Phoenix. And so it was actually a 3-month follow-up with this prospect. So
let me interject there.
Sure.
Yeah. So when it's not a fixed, you take it, you treat it as a land, And it doesn't mean that you can't do a wholesale deal with it. It means that
Correct.
you have to
Correct.
sell the mobile as a regular vehicle transaction. So you would sell it
Yep.
via title. So it's, I
Yep.
mean, it just works a little different. But if you come across something like that, I mean, they can be big spreads, just like the one we're talking about right now.
Oh yeah, for sure. Again, this was a 3-month follow-up. We followed up with this guy. So here's the story behind it. So just really quick. So he bought the property for his daughter and his son-in-law.
Mm-hmm.
And they were supposed to live on it. He didn't want nothing to do with it. He goes, I'm going to buy it for you guys. You guys take care of it. Then they started missing payments on the taxes. They started missing payments on the mortgage. They started missing payments on the well, because there was a well there too, because of where it was located. So they ended up leaving. They left the property. So, and the guy didn't want anything to do with it, right? The dad. So he lived 2 hours away. He lived in Payson, so which is 2 hours north from where the property was. So Ruben, our acquisition guy, he kept following up with them. Hey, how's it going? And then with COVID, he was helping. I don't know what he was doing. He was part of some type of COVID unit or something. But finally, we ended up getting him to come down. He originally wanted I think he wanted like 180. And we ended up getting it for 150. We locked it up for 150. That was our contract price. And so, and here's the thing, like, we knew we were going to make at least 15K or 20K on it. From the time that we started from the point of contact, we already knew we had that in. When we contracted it, here's what blew our mind. We went back and started redoing the comps, getting it prepared for dispo. Bro, the comps in that area shot up so much that we were like, dude, we're going to be able to sell this for 200,000. Mm-hmm. And then Ruben's like, nah, no way. I'm like, bro, put it out for 200,000.
Put it out for 200,000.
Yeah, put it out for 200,000. And sure enough, it didn't even take a week to sell. This was a quick close because it was vacant. We closed it like in 15 days. And so our total profit on that was like, 48.8 or something like that. That was our total profit that we walked away with.
Insane. Yeah. $48,000 out of a place that doesn't even, it's not, it's just land. So it's technically a land deal that you had to structure. Yeah. You got a little bit creative on how you structured it, but I've seen just a lot of deals kind of go by, fall off the side margins because it's a land deal. I'm not going to look at it. It's a mobile home. I'm not going to look at it. At the end of the day, if you're dealing with real property anywhere in that transaction, there's going to be a buyer out there that, that's their niche. And that's where we come in. That's where the art of wholesaling really is. It's in finding, that type of buyer. It's not, if you go to the average rehabber, they're not going to know how to find sellers. That's where we come in. That's where our investment is. And if you learn how to do that the right way, you can come in, hit it out of the ballpark like you did on that 50K deal, and then hit it out of the ballpark again, with another 50K deal. What did the other one look like?
So the other one was an inherited property, went through probate. So we reached.
Did you get that through a probate list or
inherited list? Yeah, directly from the county. Yeah, so you can actually pull this directly from the recorder's office. All the files are there because it gets recorded as what is it called? I don't have the actual deed in mind right now. But I'll maybe we can put it in the show notes or something later.
Okay.
But yeah, so you pull the list and then we skip trace it. And then we got in contact with this gentleman, one of the siblings, right? He was the personal representative. So personal representative is when the court decides like you're going to represent the estate of such and such, which in this case was his parents. So what that means is that he's got to take control, or he's got to, he takes control of what happens to the property, what happens to the personal property that's inside the home as well, and all the belongings and everything. So he's the personal representative of all the estate, including the real estate. So then we got a hold of him. This was another follow-up too. This one took a little while.
Keys in the follow-up. Keys always in the follow-up.
Q is in the follow-up. And I always tell everybody, like, how long should I follow up? And I said, as long as it takes. But here's the key. This is my one key to follow up is every time you follow up, are you following up to chit chat or are you following up to push the sell forward? There's two differences. If you're just calling just to chat, which is okay, right? Checking in, but you also got to make sure that it's pushing the sell forward, because if not, it's your follow up is, if you're not pushing the sell forward, sometimes you may be following up with a dead prospect as well. So, but the key is in the follow-up. Yep.
Yeah, we have absolutely. I completely agree. There's got to be an objective to that phone call. Somehow, some way, you have to put it into that conversation that you're still there, you're still making the offer is still live.
Correct.
And then push it forward some way. We do three things whenever we do on follow-ups. So and it's something that we have just as a standard practice, which is we will always follow up until they tell us they sold the property. Yep. Or they ask us specifically to not call them again. If they say, what, don't call me again, we'll put them on a do not call list, and that's fine. But we always, before we hang up the call, so we go through the objective of letting them know that we're still here, the offer is still on the table, and if anything changes, give us a call back before our next call. And now, we always ask for permission to follow up. So right before we hang up, we tell them, can we give you a call in a couple of weeks? Is it okay if we give you a call just to touch base and see where everything's at? They're usually pretty open to that kind of stuff. And then that, they're still in it. They're still vested.
Yeah.
The interest may not be, skyrocketing, but they're still in there, right? And what happens is that if you do it enough, what you'll find is that changes. And then, you're going to call them one day and they're going to be all into it. You know what? Take it right now. Why? Because you're first.
Yeah. For sure. One of the things that, just real quick, just to finish up that, but do a comment on that is we like to do two things when we set up the follow-up, right? We like them to set it up for us. So we'll say, hey, if you were me, when can I call you back about this? And sometimes you'll say, well, call me sometime next week. Okay, so next week on Monday or Tuesday, we give them the option, right? So it feels like they're making the decision. Tuesday, okay, Tuesday afternoon or morning, because then that narrows it down and they're making the decision. And then at the end of the day, it's them who set it up, not us. That's something that we do internally. Yeah, because a lot of sellers like, nah, just call me next week, sometime next week. Oh, okay, so I will call you, and we leave it at that. And what happens, you have no idea when to call, right? And so, when we do,
and it also leaves it open for them to tell you, oh, you know what, I'm busy right now. Just call me again, whenever. So.
There you go. So when we call them the day, they set it up. So if they set it up next Wednesday at 3 and they don't answer, now we're going to say, hey, you scheduled for us to follow through with you on Wednesday at 8. We didn't hear from you. Now we call them out, right?
Yeah.
Now they got to defend why they didn't. Yeah. Now they got to defend why they didn't meet with us. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's a two-way street. It's a two-way conversation on the follow-ups, on the the cold calls. Even it's always going to be a two-way street. I think that the idea is that or the perspective is that whenever you're making a phone call, you're kind of you're coming in with a pen in your hand and just asking for a favor, right? But it's really not. Right. We're there to solve a problem, and it's gonna be a two-way street. We have something to offer, and they have something to offer, and if it works, we can make that happen for both parties.
Yeah, it's a good mindset to get into. By the way, it's a really good mindset to get into.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, we're there to present a solution and make money while we're doing it, because it's a problem-solving solution, and then they're going to have issues. For example, that $50K deal for you was just people who left the property unattended. They didn't want to deal with it. And then there was an issue that needed to be solved. Now, the other $50K deal, real quick before we move on to the other thing that I want to ask you.
Sure. Yeah. So that one, like I said, it took, we followed up a couple of months. He finally decided. It was a little bit of a battle between them and the siblings, right? Trying to figure out what they were going to do. What was crazy about this deal is the guy actually knew he wasn't like a full-time, full-blown investor, but he understood like real estate. I mean, this guy was, and you know what? I love talking to those people because I don't have to spend a lot of time educating, right? Yeah, that's one of the things, right? It's straight to the point. Does it make sense or not? And so I was kind of blown away. I even asked them, here's the crazy thing, because, obviously our sales style and our sales process is usually pushing them away and trying to get them to understand, like, you could do this on your own and all this. I even asked him at the appointment, I'm like, hey, I'm a little confused. And he's like, what's that? I'm like, why are we here? I mean, you're an investor, you got connections, you can fix it up. I already knew that the reason why he didn't want to do it was because he didn't want to deal with like the siblings. It was more sentimental property, but I wanted him to tell me that. I wanted him to express that. And so basically he's like, honestly, he goes, I don't want to deal with this property. It was my parents and my sister and I, we've been going back and forth. I can fix it up. He goes, I can, do all I have connections to be able, but honestly, I just want to sell it, give my sister and my brother their money and get it over with. So there was pain there, right? There was pain because there was a battle. So I told him, okay, I said, that makes a lot of sense. And so, that moved the sell on, right? Because that was my big thing. Like, I'm talking to somebody who can actually do what we're trying to do.
Right.
But he just didn't want to deal with it as far as because the other siblings and stuff. And so we ended up getting that one under contract for 310. And we pushed that property all the way up to 400 when we sold it, when we were displaying it. And so the reason we did that is because the ARV on it, once it was fixed up, was going to be like 550, right? It was really high ARV. So and here's the key. We push our properties always a little bit more than what we think we can get for it, because you got to get into the mindset. If you're always pushing your properties to make a 10K spread, guess what? You're always going to make a 10K spread. You got to get into the mindset like, okay, you got to push the limit. You got to start pushing the limit. Now you got to be careful. It's got to make sense within your quadrant of disposition, right?
Yeah.
But you got to shift that mindset so we did that, right? So most of our properties, we're pushing them, 10, maybe 15K, depends on the deal, more than what we think we can get, because because what happens with our buyers is they'll come back and they'll say, I can't be at that price, but here's where I can be at.
Right.
That's 5K lower than the 15K, but 10K higher than what we actually want.
Than your number, yeah. No, and I mean, at the end of it, we are sitting down in a field full of negotiators. So you can count on your dispo. I mean, you're gonna leave money on the table if you don't wrap your head around that.
No, you don't.
Selling a property to one of your end buyers.
For sure. So so we got a couple offers, low offers, like 330, 340. We're like, those don't even get looked at. And then an offer came in at 360. And so we were like, our target was to hit 50K. We probably, again, going back to that mindset, we probably should have set the threshold maybe at 60 or 70. We would have got it, I think. Actually, here's the funny story is, when you get to a position, obviously you can't do this all the time when you're starting out, but I was hoping the buyer would cancel.
Take it down and flip it, keep it.
Take it down and flip it. I'm thinking like, man, I hope this buyer cancels. But, again, at the end of the day, we actually did a double close on that one, did we? No, we didn't do a double close on that one because we knew the buyer. So he was good, and we made a 50K spread on that one, on that property. So
how long did it take for you since from the day the lead came in to when you stamped that closing document?
It was like 5 months, man.
5 months, 50K.
Yeah, 5 months. Yeah.
I mean, and it's follow-ups and, stuff in there. So, I mean, people make 50K in a year, and you did that,
right?
Just through the process that you guys already have in place. No, I love it, man.
Yeah. So the first one started a month, I think a month or two before, and then the second one came back in. So you got to think that was two deals within that 5 month period.
Yeah, no, that's just one out of all the deals that you guys are closing. So correct, I mean, it's it becomes sustainable. It becomes something that can just really change, the way that we live. So what are putting back and looking back at your business, what are some of the biggest things that have helped you through the process, from day one to where you are right now? Some of the key things. Give me 3.
So this is something that I've come to learn, right? The biggest investment is investing in yourself. You need to invest in yourself. So whether that's self-development, coaching, honestly, you can only get so far by yourself. What's the one thing? If you want to go fast, you go by yourself. If you want to go far, you go with someone else. That's one big thing. I think that's the biggest thing, right? Is investing in yourself. Again, go whether that's self-development, coaching, whatever the case is, because you need to do it at some point.
Yeah. Well, somebody's already laid out the track, and you remember that quote that says, you're standing in the shoulders of giants. That makes so much sense, man. Somebody's already put in that, the work, and stuff that that I'm not good at. I'll reach out and then I'll stand on somebody else's shoulders and build on that.
For sure.
Just to leap further and make it bigger.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, the second thing is learning how to delegate at a high level, right? Because that's the other key is delegation, high level delegation, because you get to a point where you can't sit in all. You get to a point where you can literally not sit in all the seats for your business to survive, right? Not thrive, not make money, survive. That's one of the things that. Not saying that I was always a person that liked to have control over every position in our company, but this was by default, right? It was by default. So and I just learned this. Right? Like, you cannot have a thriving business until you delegate at a higher level. Like so I did a little bit of a mindset shift. Is that I always wanted to be the best at everything, which I still do, right? Everything that I do. But now it's more like I want the people that come into our team be the ones that are best at what they do, better than me, right? Better than me.
Creating leaders in their hats.
Yep. And then the third thing I would say is I guess this goes into a little bit of self-development, but definitely some personal coaching. I've been talking to especially for me, right, to be more intentional with everything, because I know that even though I still have a successful business, successful family life, all this, but sometimes we lose that intentionality, right? Being intentional with things. And us as entrepreneurs, we have a lot going on, with, everything intertwines, life, work. And so just being more intentional with the things that I do, for this year.
Yeah, I have a mindset coach that I talk to on a regular basis, and I mean the technical stuff. For example, I mean building everything that I've been able to put together on my end. For example, the operating system and the business and the broker, all that stuff. I don't think I would have gotten 50-60% of it done if I wasn't working on my mindset on a regular basis. Yeah, and I have a coach that I go to for that, and it's just one of the cornerstones of my growth. So
yeah, and that's what I'm doing this month as well. Okay, got you. That's what I'm doing starting this month as well.
Yep. Nice, man. I love it. So thanks for sharing, man, your journey with us. It's been an amazing last 5 years for you, and you've leaped through results, bro. And I love the fact that you're having ripple effects through real estate disruptors, through your business, and you're creating solutions out there and really inspiring people to move forward, through action, right? So give me a book that you would recommend for the audience.
Let's see. So I would say, depending on where you're at, right? Because I'm a big believer in learning. So there's a saying that says learning just because, I think it is, and then learning for that right moment, right? Right. So it just depends on what because we can learn things just because we want to learn them, but then there's the timing, like learn it for that time that you're in. So for me, the time that I am right now is in leadership. So one of the books that I'm reading right now is by Jocko Willink. It's called Discipline Equals Freedom. Discipline equals freedom. It's a great book because at the end of the day, you can only be so motivated to do stuff until it becomes a discipline or a habit. Then it's going to equal an outcome, and it's going to equal out to be freedom, what you're looking for. Yeah.
Yep. I love it, man. Yeah. It's those moments where embracing the suck is gonna take you through the hard stuff. When you don't feel like doing things, but you have that discipline built in. The joyful moments are going to come back. I mean, it's just emotions, right? We're human beings. We have emotions that go up and down. Here's
the thing he says in the book. So he goes, you start at 80. So you start at the 80-20, right? So you're 80% motivated to do the 20% of the things, right, that need to be done. And so like you start to lose that. Then it becomes 60-40. It becomes 50, 50, and then becomes 40-60. And then now it's 20-80. Your motivation's at 20. So
you got to do 80% of the things.
Yeah. So the motivation only takes you so long. It's those little disciplines and it's the little habits that become disciplines that equals out to the thing that you got to do. Yeah.
Yep. No, man, I love it. Thank you so much for spending the time with us. I appreciate you, bro.
No problem. Thank you, Rafael.
Keep crushing it. Keep doing great things.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right. Cool. All right. Good deal, Tribe. So thanks for listening. There has literally been no better time than now to take advantage of the best opportunity out there, which is wholesaling. Fam, thank you for listening. Every week I bring you the real, the raw, the mindset, the case studies, and the strategies you need to build your own successful real estate wholesaling business. So if you haven't done so yet, make sure to hit that subscribe button and don't miss out on real life experience and information that can make you millions. It's time to join the ranks of successful wholesalers and real estate entrepreneurs like the one you just heard and take advantage of one of the biggest opportunities that we have in our lifetime to generate wealth. So go to reiwholesaling.com, head over to my website, again, that's reiwholesaling.com, and learn how to make big profits, make big money by finding, negotiating, and closing wholesale deals from your own backyard. You've heard the stories, seen the case studies, stop thinking about it, it's time to write your own. Again, head over to reiwholesaling.com, click on coaching program, book a discovery call, have a conversation with my team, and you might get an invitation to join hundreds of students throughout the country who are leveling up on a daily basis. The writing is on the wall. Hustle is a season, it's not a business strategy. Take action, start building a sustainable and scalable real estate wholesaling business, and join the coaching program today. I will catch you guys on the next one. Talk to you soon. Stay focused. You got this.